Hi there, Year 1 children. It's Mr Yeardsley out in the sunny Century Garden today. I've chosen another book from the Happy Family series I found in the Impact. It's called Mr Jolly's Joke Shop. Can you remember which book we read yesterday? What job did that person do? And what job do you think the people doing this story, do you think they run? Let's find out. I say. Have you heard the story of Mrs Jolly's Joke Shop? No? Well, here it is. One morning, Mrs Jolly sat up in bed. She heard a knock at the door. Knock, knock. Who's there? Said Mrs Jolly. Boo! Said a voice. Boo-hoo! Said Mrs Jolly. There's no need to cry, said the voice. It's only a joke. And in came Mr Jolly with a cup of tea. Mrs Jolly had a laugh. She drank her tea and came downstairs for breakfast. In the kitchen, she heard a voice from under the table. What's bread? Said the voice. Raw toast, said Mrs Jolly, and out popped Jennifer Jolly with a plate of toast and honey. Mrs Jolly had another laugh. She ate her toast and honey and went upstairs to get dressed. At 9 o'clock, Mrs Jolly put on her funny nose and her silly hat and went to work in the joke shop. In Mrs Jolly's joke shop, there were lots of funny noses and silly hats, and also lots of water pistols, water flowers, water rings. There were squeaky cushions and plastic spiders, and lots of jokes. Little squirty jokes going on there. At 9:10, the first customer came in. He bought a funny nose, a silly hat, and a joke about teddy bears. Scott says here, jolly joke card. How do you start a teddy bear race? Ready, Teddy, go! At 9:30, the second customer came in. She brought a funny nose, a silly hat, and a joke about rabbits. Says, what do you get if you pour boiling water down a rabbit hole? Hot cross bunnies. Wouldn't advise that. At 10:30, the window cleaner came in. Straight through the window. His ladder had broken. At 12 o'clock, Jennifer Jolly came home for her lunch. Mr and Mrs Jolly had theirs too. What's white on the outside, green on the inside, and hops, said Jennifer. And Mrs Jolly laughed and she said, a frog sandwich! Croak, croak, hop it! At 1:30, Jennifer Jolly went back to school. Now, Jennifer, said her teacher, if I had 5 oranges in one hand and 4 in the other, what would I have? Big hands, miss, says Jennifer. And the teacher says, I'll give you big hands in a minute. At 2 o'clock, Mr Jolly went shopping. He went to a pet shop to get a present for Mrs Jolly. I want a parrot for my wife, he said. Sorry, sir, said the pet shop lady. We don't do swaps. Ha ha ha. Pieces of 8. At 3 o'clock, a robber came into Mrs Jolly's joke shop. He pointed his fingers at Mrs Jolly. This is a muck-up, he said. Don't you mean a stick-up? Said Mrs Jolly. No, said the robber, a muck-up. I forgot my gun. And out he went. At 4 o'clock, Jennifer Jolly came home for her tea. Mr and Mrs Jolly had theirs too, and the parrot had his. What's the best thing to put in a pie? Said Mrs Jolly, and the parrot said, your beak. At 5 o'clock it began to rain, and at 6 o'clock it was still raining, and at 7:30, at 8 o'clock the river bank broke and the town was flooded. The Jolly family climbed onto the roof. What do you get when the rain comes down? Said Mr Jolly. An umbrella, Mrs Jolly said. At 9 o'clock there was a small earthquake and the chimneys on the roof fell off. What did the big chimney say to the little chimney? Said Jennifer. You're too young to smoke, Mr and Mrs Jolly said. A few days later, when the rain and floods had gone and the house was clean again and the windows were mended, Mrs Jolly put her funny nose on and her silly hat and went to work again in the joke shop. At 9:05, there was a knock at the door. Knock, knock. Who's there? Said Mrs Jolly. Cows go, said a voice. Cows go who? Said Mrs Jolly. No, cows go moo, said the voice, and in came the milkman. Mrs Jolly laughed. 2 pints, please, she said, and she went into the kitchen to make a pot of tea, saying, Jolly put the kettle on. It's a whole load of different Happy Families books. These are the only 2 I could find at the moment. Maybe I might read some more, boys and girls, if I find them in the Limpack Library. In the meantime, take care of yourselves, take care of your families, and don't forget the school motto: if you see someone without a smile, give them one of yours. Keep on smiling, everyone.